What is up, everybody? It is Blind Metal Gamer here with you once again, and it is time for another one of my live random rambles. And in this one, I'm going to be talking about Castlevania Belmonts Curse. I wanted to do this one because, man, I love Castlevania. I love the fact that we're getting a new 2D game in the series for the 40th anniversary, and it's not just some collection deal. It's a brand new game developed by Konami, developed by Evil Empire and Motion Twin. This is going to be great. Now, in this discussion, we're going to be talking about how Castlevania Belmont's Curse can be made fully blind playable and make it accessible to as many players as possible. Now, if anyone from Konami, Motion Twin, or Evil Empire Studios are going to watch today, either as a live presentation or on demand, I want to let everyone know this is for the sake of how it can be made fully playable. So I hope this video finds you all well, and I hope that you all can find this information useful and how to make this upcoming game fully blind playable and accessible to as many gamers as possible who want to play your game. So, we're going to kick it off by saying, with this being a 2D game, this will not be a 3D thing. So, again, the big thing here for us blind players is information. So, we're in a side to side level going left to right. The big thing, and I always start with this, is screen reader support. I'm not talking just basic, I'm talking full on screen reader support that will tell the blind player, it will read the menus, it will let the player know if they're coming up on something such as gold or sub weapons or whip upgrades. Um, it might, okay, let's say a monster comes on screen, it'll say Medusa Head or Merman or whatever the monster is, so the player knows, hey, get ready to attack that monster. Then maybe an audio cue could go with that. So we could have the screen reader do the menus, every menu, read things as items that come up on screen. Basically, all text on that screen needs to be read by the screen reader in order for the screen reader piece to work properly to ensure that this would be blind playable. But are we done yet? No. The next big thing is going to be some sort of a navigational assist. If this is a Metroidvania game, we're going to be exploring a big castle. We're going to be exploring a big area. And although it's in 2D, it can be very massive in scope. Think of Castlevania Symphony of the Night and what that's like. Um, and so for this, we're going to need some sort of a navigational assistance. So what I'm thinking for this is maybe a point of interest ping. So you have your full screen reader piece. You have a point of interest ping that if the player, let's say, clicks the left or right stick, they might hear click, 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 or they could do what Diablo 4 did. And that is have kind of a directional navigational assist where the player hears a click click like a ping, and they know to follow that ping till they reach their destination. And then when they've reached that destination, the screen reader says you've reached your destination. That way, the player knows how to get where they need to go in the map, and they know when they reach their destination. Another way to do the ping thing, since it's a 2D game, would be have the player click the left or right stick in on the controller, and it would play the ping, and the ping would increase in frequency and pitch when the player got closer to their destination. That's another way you can do navigational assist in a 2D game. Now, as far as audio cues, I want to suggest, okay, for audio cues, let's say the player comes to a door, okay? The screen reader might say door, or let's say, or ladder. They could use the screen reader for that, or they could have an audio glossary of cues for different things, such as doors, ladders, stairs, enemies, loot pickups, things like that. So different audio cues for different things. That way, let's say, for example, you're going and there's a ladder that leads you up to the next, or a thing of steps that leads you up to the next part, right? You'll hear an audio cue that lets you know, hey, There's steps here, push the button to go up the steps. And maybe the screen reader could accompany the audio cues by saying push whatever button to climb or descend stairs. So you would have the screen reader piece to let you know what button to push, and then the audio cue piece to let the player know what um, is in front of them. You know, if there's stairs, if there's a door, if there's a chest, if there's an enemy. Um, and then you have your navigation assist, point of interest ping. So those right there would be some ways to make this fully blind playable. Now, you're probably wondering, what about those what if this game has fully voiceover cutscenes? Okay, that would be great. But I think what would really not nail it for the cutscenes would be descriptive audio. Now, this would be crucial for letting the blind player know how to, what's going on screen during the cutscene. And, you know, it would be crucial for, any, like, let's say you are facing a boss, as an example, okay? Or let's say we don't know much about the new Castlevania's combat, so I'm going to go out on a whim here. Let's say the new Castlevania has parrying and brutal finishing moves, okay? Let's say you parry an enemy. The screen reader says push whatever button to parry. Boom, you push it. Then push whatever button to finish the enemy off. Boom, you push it. And then it would describe, it being descriptive audio, would describe what the finishing move is so that way the player knows what's going on. And this would also be useful not only for cutscenes but for in-game gameplay if the game will have finishers as well. So the screen reader, going back to that, would not only do menu navigation and item identification and enemy identification, but it would say press square to attack or press L1 to parry or whatever, like circle to dodge or whatever. And it would tell the player what button to push when to let them know what they need to push to do which action. That would be an advantage of having a fully fledged screen reader. Now, if it has to be built from the ground up for the game, I understand completely. Now, as far as the best way to get this thing going at launch, when you boot up the game, have the thing say, do you want to enable the in-game screen reader, and have the screen reader read it. Give the player the option yes or no. So that way the player has it from the beginning, no questions asked, none of that. It's there. If they want it, they have it. If they don't, they don't. So that's something that would be very helpful. And then another thing that would be very helpful would be haptic feedback. So let's say, and I thought about this too as far as navigation. Let's say you don't want to do the point of interest ping. Let's say the player clicks the stick, okay? So they click it and they feel a pulse in the DualSense controller or the Xbox controller or whatever. And that pulse would increase in frequency and intensity when they got closer to their objective, as long as it was marked on the map. So like boss rooms, that would be a very good thing. You would click the stick, you feel a very intense pulse, you know that you are on your way to a boss. So those are ways for navigational assist to be handled in a 2D game, such as Castlevania Belmonts Curse. Um, Again, I've went over combat. I went over descriptive audio. I went over, the screen reader, how it needs to work. As far as audio cues, things for doors, steps, maybe ladders, or maybe items or secrets or tests, things like that. Audio cues for when you've killed an enemy. That way the player knows, hey, I've defeated this enemy, I can move on. That's another way you can use audio cues. Now, before I wrap up, I do want to say that um, this, although I know this is specifically for Castlevania Belmonts Curse, this could apply to the new God of War Sons of Sparta as well. So, Just some thought. If those guys over at Mad Cat Studios are listening to this or watching this, something to think about. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Okay, so the screen reader would do the following: menu navigation. It would read all menus, all in-game text. It would uh, give the player like what information as far as what button to push, to parry, to attack. Assuming there is parries, to dodge, and all that. The audio cues would help the player identify doors, passages, stairs, things, secret items such as chests, other power-ups, and things like that. The audio cues will help players to identify when they've killed enemies, and if they've parried or can do if they have finishing moves in the game. Uh, to help the player identify to know when to finish their enemy off. Descriptive audio would be useful for cutscenes, and then if the game does have finishing moves, to maybe describe those as well to the player to let the player know what's going on. That way the player can keep up as well. And then as far as navigational assist, I explained either a point of interest ping by clicking the stick or using haptic feedback by clicking the stick to help the player navigate by way of vibration, by way of having a increased frequency for intensity and pulse in the controller to let the player know when they're going to get to an objective, such as a boss room or a room of high importance that they need to go in. Now, as far as the difficulty, now I wanted to say this kind of for the end because I know this is going to be very divisive. Now, for difficulty, Um, the issue will be combat difficulty. I think, they need to make it where you can have the combat only set to either normal, hard, hardest, light, or very light. Now, you're thinking, oh my God, why combat? Because that is going to assist with combat difficulty for those that need more time to parry, more time to dodge, more time to attack, and things like that. Then, for puzzles, if the game has puzzles, puzzle either skippable puzzles or have the puzzle difficulty be adjusted just like the combat, very light, light, normal, etc. Then maybe extended puzzle time to where the player won't have to worry about the time frame, audio cues for the puzzles. Uh, if the puzzles require aiming, puzzle aim assist, where it'll snap to the nearest puzzle target. And the aim assist, if used in combat, could work for target auto target as well. And then to make it even more with the audio cues, you can have audio cues for when you're aiming at the head of an enemy, the body, the arm, the leg, etc. Different audio cues. A perfect example of this would be The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, The Last of Us Part 1. Great audio cues there. And a good example of the puzzle thing would be God of War Ragnarok. And the new, for a 2D game, it would be God of War Sons of Sparta. So those are some ways that I feel Castlevania Belmonts Curse can be made fully blind playable. That's how it could be done. Those are some ways that could be used to make it fully blind playable. And if Mad Cat's, unrelated note, if Mad Cat Studios is watching this, if somebody from that studio is watching this and wants to update God of War Sons of Sparta with some of these features too, by all means, use this video as an inspirational guide as to how to make your 2D game fully blind playable. So, with that being said, I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, and I hope that this video serves as a way for the developers of Castlevania Belmonts Curse and any other 2D game to make your game fully playable by blind and low vision players. This has been Blind Metal Gamer saying so long and peace out for now.